me, when you think of a backpack, you think of what you carried every day to school when you were younger. Or you think of someone going on a camping trip and they're carrying their gear and all their supplies on their back. But I read the story a while back of a man who was standing on the side of the road carrying a backpack, and he was needing a ride. He was desperately ready for some relief. It was hot, and he kept waiting when finally a man in a pickup stopped and told him to get in the back of his truck. So he climbed over the tailgate, he got seated, and the driver took off. And as he drove a little ways, he glanced back and could tell the man was enjoying the open air and the breeze, when all of a sudden he noticed something odd. The man still had the heavy backpack strapped across his shoulders. So the driver was confused, and he hollered back to the man and he said, "Hey buddy, I'm giving you a ride. Why don't you let me give your backpack a ride too?" He wanted the rider to understand how strange he looked riding in the back of his truck, but still holding on to his heavy load. And how many times have you and I witnessed the same scenario spiritually? Someone will come up for prayer in a church service, and this person knows the Lord, they're saved, but it's very obvious to everyone around that they've came forward for prayer carrying a heavy load. It's one that God doesn't intend for them to carry. Sometimes that person is me, sometimes it's you, and we fail to realize, or sometimes we're just trying to ignore, that our load is unnecessary. And we find in Psalms 55 and verse 22, where David said, "Cast thy burden upon the Lord, and he shall sustain thee. He shall never suffer the righteous to be moved." David said, "Cast thy burden upon the Lord." And my mother mentioned in a previous devotion how the Lord opened her spiritual understanding to what it means to cast. When we cast something, we let go of it. And sometimes that's what we're not doing. We're not letting go, like the man in the back of the pickup truck. And we wonder why we're spiritually exhausted all the time. We have no victory, when the fact remains we haven't given God our problem, and He can't carry it unless we let it go. And we've all quoted Hebrews 12 and 1 over and over again, where Paul told us to lay aside every weight and the sin which doth so easily beset us. And this verse has been quoted so many times in our church services. We've referenced it so many times that it's almost become a cliche. Now, we don't have to ask someone what our weights are. Our weights are whatever instantly comes to our mind when we get honest about the hindrances in our lives. We go to prayer, and it's right there before us immediately. And it varies from person to person. It's interesting that Paul listed weights first, because a lot of times these are the things that we tend to overlook, because a weight isn't a sin. But as we see in the scripture, it becomes one. It leads to sin if we don't lay it aside. And sometimes we tend to make personal exceptions when it comes to weights because we don't see the importance with laying them aside. We tend to justify them, and we all know that weights come in so many forms and fashions. Sometimes they're on the exterior. Sometimes it's a form of entertainment that God isn't pleased with. Sometimes it's a dress style that we know in our hearts isn't becoming to a Christian. It's a style of music that God has been dealing with our hearts to lay aside. Whatever the case may be, weights are very prevalent nowadays in our lives. And someone may be in one of these exterior categories today that I've mentioned. And if so, I pray you'll recognize that hindrance and you'll feel the need to lay it aside. But today, I honestly feel I'm talking to someone who loves the Lord with all your heart. You're doing your best to live a holy life. You aren't living in a state of lukewarmness, but your weight is an emotional one. There's something on your heart that you've been carrying so long, you've grown accustomed to it. It's just a part of your everyday life. It's consuming you, and it's all you can think about. I'm reminded of our pastor friend who was in these same shoes, and we've mentioned this before, how he decided he would start praying 5 minutes a day about the problem that was consuming him. It was dominating his thoughts, and it was taking the majority of his prayer time. And he said it wasn't long at all with praying just 5 minutes a day about that need that God worked it out. And that's the place the Lord wanted him to reach all along. And it's the place we've got to reach. Yes, we've got to pray about it, but we must not get up from our knees continuing to carry that burden 24/7. And that doesn't mean we become a problem denier, just a nonchalant person who refuses to deal with the issues that need to be dealt with in life. But we have got to learn how to take our burdens to the Lord and leave them in His hands. And I can hear it now that someone is saying in your heart, it's a whole lot easier said than done. And I agree. When it comes to spiritual burdens, spiritual weights, emotional weights, we struggle with knowing how to take our hands off of the problem and lay it down. Some of you are carrying an emotional hurt, a wound from something in the past. Maybe it was the way you were raised or the circumstances that life has brought your way, and you have stood in a place for years that you feel is unfair. And you look around to people that you worship with or someone that you rub shoulders with, and it seems like their life is going so well, and you don't understand the circumstances that you have been forced to deal with. But if you'll earnestly seek the Lord today, I promise you He will reveal to you how to truly let it go. I read a quote recently that said, "The hurt isn't my fault, but the healing is my responsibility." And when you find a place to pray, you may find an amazing victory. Not long after praying, you may feel like the Lord has lifted that burden and you feel so light. I've been there many times, only to wake up the next morning and realize you're carrying it again. Your burden almost seems magnetic. You've lived with it for so long, you don't know how to live without it. But don't beat yourself up. It's all right. Sometimes letting go is a process. Just find another place to pray and let it go again. When we learn to recognize our hindrances as a threat to our walk with God, we get more determined to get victory. We get more determined to let it go. In order to go higher in Him, we realize this weight has got to go. By God's grace, I will be determined I won't live a defeated life. I will let this go. I will not let it dominate me any longer. I will gain victory in the name of the Lord. And then you can say, like the chorus that we've sang for many, many years at the end of an altar service when somebody just gained victory, you can say, "Glory, glory, hallelujah, since I laid my burden down. I am feeling so much better since I laid my burden down." And I promise you, you will. You know you will. You're going to feel so much better when you find a place to lay it down. And as we mentioned a while ago, it may be a process for you, but just keep laying it down. Keep carrying it back to Him, and you're going to experience the victory that He has for you as His child. The Lord loves you. He really loves you, and He's carrying you today. And can I encourage you, why don't you let Him carry your backpack too?